Oh, the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin with me. Gonna beat my sword
Gonna beat my sword
into a plow.
into a plow.
Gonna beat my sword
Gonna beat my sword
into a plow.
into a plow.
Gonna beat my sword into a plow. Christ is king in my life now. May his peace begin with
Mary Blocher Smeltzer of the Laverne Church of the Brethren was one of more than 200 teachers who were honored by the Japanese American National Museum in the Little Tokyo area of Los Angeles, California. This honor occurred several years ago, and we had the pleasure to meet Mary recently. Hello, I'm Brent Carlson. Welcome to Brethren Voices. At the beginning of World War II, some 110,000 Japanese American citizens were interned at 10 relocation centers in the United States. Mary says they were really concentration camps. An estimated 30,000 children attended schools in these camps. Mary and her husband Ralph Smeltzer, who is now deceased, were teachers at the Manzanar Camp in California. This camp is located on the east side of the Sierra Nevada mountains, north of Mount Whitney, on a remote stretch of U.S. Highway 395 between Independence and Lone Pine. Mary and her husband declined to live with the other Caucasian employees, choosing instead to live with the Japanese American citizens, and they became house parents for a group of Japanese American boys who were not able to live with their own parents. We had the honor of talking with Mary at her home. Mary has now experienced 95 years on this earth. I think you will agree, you would never guess that she was over 75. She is very spirited, quick-witted, and loves to share her thoughts about anything. We asked her about her involvement in the Church of the Brethren. Could you just give us a real quick background of your Brethren history?
Well, I told you earlier that my mother and father met at an annual conference, and they were married in 1901.
And that annual conference was in St. Petersburg, Florida.
No, their annual conference was in Kansas. I went to St. Petersburg, Florida, but that's where I met. I was with Nell Morton there.
Oh, okay. So they met at annual conference in Kansas and married in 1901.
Yeah, and so I've been brethren all my life. And of course, actually, we moved to Laverne in 1921. And when I was 10 or 12, I joined the church here, right in Laverne.
And you met your husband, and he was Brethren also?
Yeah, his dad was a preacher even. And, I met him, I guess, well, no, I guess when I was in college.
What we wanted to talk to you today about is your work with your husband in the Japanese internment camps, but they were called at the time war relocation camps?
War Relocation Center, they called it.
And there were 10 in the United States.
And we were in the Manzanar, which is, I think, the first one, and it was in Owens Valley, which is the valley east of the Sierras. It goes up and down on the east side of the Sierra. And it's close to Mount Williamson, which is close to Mount Whitney. And actually it's not as, the elevation would be several thousand feet, because it's not as low as Death Valley.
And you said there was over 100,000 Japanese Americans that were in these 10
There are
centers.
110,000 Japanese and Japanese Americans interned in 10 war relocation centers. And they were scattered around the United States. They had 2 in Arkansas, I think, but most of them were in California, Arizona. They had some in, I think, Idaho and Montana.
And you and your husband were volunteers?
Well, no, we were hired. We weren't volunteers. We worked.
Were you hired by the U.S. government?
We were hired by civil service. And a woman interviewed us right in L.A. And so we were teachers, but we weren't in a teacher organization, and we were just hired by the civil service of the U.S. government.
And you taught math?
Yeah, I was a math teacher, and my husband Ralph was a science teacher.
And when you moved there, they provided you an apartment? Originally?
Yeah, I guess it's funny. I don't know if we had to pay any rent or not, but we lived with Caucasians in a corner of the camp. And the camp had, I think it was, well, they had 36 blocks, and I don't know how big it was. I know we had barbed wire all around them. We had a big, what do you call them?
Guard towers?
Yeah, guard towers, yeah. They had about 6 of them, I think, at each corner and on each side or something.
And you have the original plaque from the door of where you lived.
Oh, yeah, it's in here. It's in here. Yeah, somebody made it. And that's our address. Block 36. Is that the 36?
Mm-hmm.
Barrack 14 and apartment 1.
Now, you didn't like that. You wanted to move.
No, that's where we moved to.
Oh, that's where you moved to.
Yeah. And it was out the last block in camp. And it was right with all the Japanese. Yeah,
And you said you asked to move because you didn't want to live with the Caucasians.
yeah, right.
And so what did they do? They put you in a special role.
Well, they said they had this barrack full of Kibe boys. And Kibe means that you were born in the United States but educated in Japan. And actually they were very Japanesey. They spoke English okay, but they were more interested in Japanese things. So we had the end of the barrack was our place, and then they must have had a side entrance, and there was a hall down the middle, and each one of these boys had a little room. And actually they had a much better living situation than most families, because other barracks were divided into, probably 3 or 4 apartments, and the whole family just had one big room. And it was really awful. And so these kids were pretty lucky, and that's where we were. But we had a Model A Ford, and we had to drive down to eat with the Caucasians all the time. And we just used our car and went back and forth. And of course the school where we taught was down by the Caucasian, but we lived out at the end of the camp. And
You said this camp was about 1 square mile?
I think so. I think that's about right.
So it's huge, with a lot, over 10,000 Japanese internees,
Well,
and then
there
how
were-
many staff were there and workers?
Oh, you mean Caucasians? I don't know. Quite a few. They had a kind of a corner, one corner, and they had big fire breaks between these rows of barracks, and it kind of divided them up, and they were kind of like 4 blocks were together, because the fire break went this way and that way. So, they didn't have any fire, but they had protection. And so.
And in your schoolroom, it was pretty sparse when you started out.
Oh yeah, it was just bare.
No books, no blackboard, nothing.
First day, I just can't imagine what I did with those kids the first day, but well, we managed.
And you said they had to sit on newspaper?
Oh, yeah, at first they just sat around the wall and leaned on the wall on the newspaper. But actually, finally, we must have got decent seats, or I think we had chairs with a
A bench? A desk?
a desk kind of like thing. And actually it was the easiest teaching situation I ever had. Because the Japanese really have a strong desire for education. And they work hard and they are smart. And of course, I think every different culture is smart, but education is just very important to them.
I think we have some pictures of the camp that were painted by one of the boys.
Yes, right.
So we'll show those to our audience a little later. And then also, you were able to get some materials, some books and some other things, but you had to ask for those.
Oh, no, we got them. I don't think we had to ask for them. They just didn't have them at the first day. But we got what we needed. And by the time, I only taught there 6 months. And by the time I finished, a Japanese man took over what I was teaching.
One of the inmates there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you and your husband were instrumental in setting something else up.
Well, yeah, we got the church just have a hostel to help. From the time we got to Manzanar, we tried to figure out how to get them out of there. And so we got the church to let us have a hostel at Bethany, the seminary in Chicago. So we started in September, and in March, the next year, I took 5 people with me on the bus and the train and got to Chicago.
The camp started with you as a teacher in September 1942.
Yeah.
And then in March of 43.
I went to Bethany.
With 5 boys on the train.
4 boys and a girl.
4 boys and a girl.
And one boy ditched me in Reno. But he finally got to Chicago, to the hostel. And he brought me the biggest box of chocolate-covered nuts that I ever saw. It was 5 pounds. And he brought me a present when he came to the hostel finally.
Did he apologize for running out on you?
Oh, he brought the box of chocolates. Didn't have to apologize.
We'll share more about this special interview with Mary. But first, we would like to share a very special song which Mike Stern wrote about the Japanese internment, and which his wife Carol compliments with pictures of Japanese Americans who were placed in the internment camps. Here's Mike Stern with an introduction about this historical song.
Yes, like the Japanese American internment song that I wrote about that historical event is one that's pretty powerful. My wife made slides, historical slides of Japanese American internment in the West Coast, and the song is called "Take Only What You Can Carry," and it was a result of trying to understand the that event in history. I like that song. It's a hard one to listen to, but I feel like I need to sing it. It's hard to listen to and it's hard to see, but we need to remember lest we forget.
The order came in 42 from the president, and they told us to take only what you can carry, labeled with our name tag stamps. They shipped us to internment camps. Like cattle herded in the stalls, the rooms had barely any walls. Up and down the western states, they took our land and sealed our fates. Our homes and orchards left behind, like the Constitution, oh, but never mind. swept away like a dusty breeze. No crime or trial if you're Japanese. Surrounded by barbed wire fence for 2+ years, and ever since I hear them say, take only what you can carry. The order came in 42 from the president, and they told us to take only what you can carry. Take only what you can carry. Take only what you can carry.
We're featuring an interview with Mary Blocher Smeltzer of the Laverne Church of the Brethren. Mary is 95 years old and lives at Hillcrest. It's just a wonderful place in Laverne, California. If you ever get a chance to visit Hillcrest, go by and check it out. And by the way, the food in the dining hall is absolutely terrific. And like Mary says, you can go back and get seconds. And we did. So then you went to Chicago, and the Bethany Seminary had opened up a hostel.
Well, we ran the hostel, and we had a little office. We ate with the students. They had a kind of a dining club or something. We helped them cook and do dishes and stuff. And then we did that like from May to September, something like that.
This is 1943.
Yeah, I think it was 43. Well, so then we rented a mansion on the lake. It was up close to Evanston in the north part of Chicago. And so we moved the hostel up there. And we had a cook, and we had another couple that worked with us there.
And how many people, Japanese, were there?
Altogether, while we worked in Chicago, we helped 1,000 a little over 1,000 get out of the different 10 camps. And we were young and idealistic, and we didn't want to help make a little Tokyo in Chicago. So we closed it. And then
excuse me, the purpose of this hostel was to get people out of the camps and allow them to be free and in a community.
Find a place to live back east.
And a job. So yeah, you helped them find a place to live?
Yeah, well, the government finally opened an office in Chicago. And they mostly helped them get jobs, and I would run around the community trying to find apartments for them. And so we would find places for them to live, and the government found them employment.
And you said one of the places they worked was a press or a publishing company?
Yeah, Cuneo Press, and then they got jobs at Curtis Candy Company.
And Curtis makes Baby Ruth candy bars.
Yeah. But they did all kinds of things. They didn't all do that. But those are the places the younger people got jobs. But finally we had families come out too. And I don't know what kind of work they got, but whatever they were prepared to do, they got jobs doing it.
And then after Chicago, you moved to Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
And you and your husband, did you open up a hostel there?
Yeah, we had the hostel. We had a hard time finding a place. We finally found a fraternity house they would rent to us, and boy, the people lived around there, dentists and stuff, they didn't want any Japs. And for 30 days, the New York area papers had articles, and they'd be headline, "No Japs." They didn't want any Japs, and I made a scrapbook with all these articles, and my lawyer daughter could not believe that they would have had headlines like that, "No Japs."
We'll be back to talk more with Mary, but now we would like to share with you a wonderful video produced by Kay Geyer, who has just completed her freshman year at Manchester College. Here is "Blessed to be a Witness" by Kay Geyer.
Corcovado parted the sky, and through the darkness on us he shined. Crucified in stone, still his blood is my own. Glory, behold, all my eyes have seen, has seen. I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed to be a witness. Some have flown away and can't be with us here today. Like the hills of my home, some have crumbled and now are gone. Gather around, for today won't come again, won't come again. I am blessed, 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 I am blessed to be a witness. So much sorrow and pain, but still I will not live in vain. Like good questions never asked, is wisdom wasted on the past? Only by the grace of God go I am blessed, 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 I am blessed to be a witness. I am blessed, 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 I am blessed to be a witness.
Take your face out of your hands and clear your eyes. You have a right to your dream and don't be denied. I believe in a better way. I believe in
We thank Kay Geyer for her thought-provoking production of Blessed to be a Witness. Bring up a subject and Mary will be a witness, and she will let you know what she thinks about it. This was so refreshing. You may even hear her correct me during our conversation. I think we can all learn a bit from her. We asked her about her thoughts about the Church of the Brethren.
We have a very, what do you call it, patriarchal, is that the right word?
Yes.
Society, we still do.
And so you wanted to help women become active so they didn't stay as second-class citizens.
I just wanted women to realize who they were and have more confidence in themselves and be willing to speak their piece.
And the women have been improving. You said the Laverne Church has 2 women pastors.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, they have been. I mean, I've got a daughter-in-law that's a pastor too. And of course now the problem is to accept the homosexuals. It's not the women so important anymore, but we have churches that won't let a homosexual be a member.
What do you think the Church of the Brethren ought to do about that?
Well, they just ought to accept everybody, anybody. I mean, we're all people, and we're who we are. And you just accept however you are. Act like you're an ordinary human.
Some churches have been slow to appreciate that.
Oh, they still are very slow to. We got places that don't appreciate that at all. I think all life is important, and I think that we need to take part and be part of society and trying to make the world a better place. And the way to make the world a better place is to understand each other and to understand each other's problem and each other's personality and how they are.
For Brethren Voices, this is Brent Carlson. Peace.
The path he trod,
The path he trod,
all those who tread the path he trod shall be called the friends of God. May his peace begin with me. Oh, the Jesus way
Oh, the Jesus way
is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way
Oh, the Jesus way
is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace